Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert. I'm here with another podcast episode featuring Pete Mohr. And of course, we are here with my podcast called Naked Marketing, where we become very vulnerable and authentic about our expensive marketing mistakes. And today's authentic naked guest is Pete. So welcome, Pete, from my alma mater, U of O, University of Ottawa. Welcome, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. It's just an absolute pleasure to be here with you today, Chala. And it's great to talk to another U of O grad. And, we had a little pre-chat here and it's like connecting, it's cool.
It's increasingly a small world. I just have to say this, the freakiest one was a guest that I had who also had an office in the US, was doing the interview from the condo unit from above my building, like in my building. He was on the top, like one floor above. That was just like, it freaked me out.
That is interesting.
It was so, anyway, so it gets worse. So tell us what you do and who you help.
Well, I have a couple of different businesses, and we have some shoe stores and called Shoetopia here in Ontario. And I also have a business coaching business, which is simplifying entrepreneurship. And I help entrepreneurs cut through the chaos of running their business, turn the frustrations into freedoms, create all sorts of different around systems and frameworks and different things. I mean, we get into business sometimes not expecting some of the things that come up. So I help people through that. I mean, I've been in business for 27 years. So through my experiences and coaching and all the different things that I've done, there's some easier ways to do business. And that's usually what we talk about, strategy and all sorts of different things around coaching entrepreneurs.
So the shoe business, is that like a family business, or you just started that?
No, actually, when we were chatting about before, I used to live in Ottawa, and I moved to just outside of on the other side of Toronto, outside of Guelph, in a small town called Elora. And we have two shoe stores, one in Fergus and one in Mount Forest. And I bought them when I was living in Ottawa. I used to be a business broker, and I was helping people buy and sell businesses. I pitched it to somebody in Ottawa who said, "There's no way, I'm a city guy. There's no way I can move to some little town and run a small, it's a good business and everything, but my family won't go for it." And I'm like, well, we are a small town business, or we are small town people. I was living in a small town outside of Ottawa, but commuting into Ottawa. And we said, let's move ourselves because this is a good business. So we bought the first business, bought another business, opened another one, closed one because that was a marketing mistake and a whole mistake around that. But and we have two successful stores that are continue on, branded Shoetopia.ca. It's not .com because the .com one's down in the States. And it's a great business. Love footwear. So I've got my businesses running, or got those kind of running on a turnkey basis, which is what I coach to, of course. Have your business running on a turnkey basis so that you can do other things that you want to do, which in my case, I want to be a business coach. I want to talk business. I want to have these conversations and all that stuff. I don't necessarily want to be standing in my shoe store from open to close every day, 7 days a week. So I've got wonderful team around me. I practice what I preach when it comes to all that sort of stuff, and enjoy working in the shoe store when I'm needed, but really spending most of my time coaching other entrepreneurs and working through helping them turn their frustrations into freedoms, creating turnkey businesses, getting more time back, all of that sort of stuff.
I love this. Oh my gosh. Well, I've got so many questions, but I'm going to go straight to the marketing questions. Because, now it's not only are you in a small town, but we've been hit by not only do you have brick and mortar, which was already, in trouble, but now we've been hit with the pandemic, and now in Ontario, we've been hit with more restrictions. Yeah. So how has that affected you?
Well, in Ontario, we were closed for since pandemic. Our doors were closed to the public for 8 weeks, and then another 8 weeks, and then another 6 weeks, at different times. We had 3 different closures, full closures. And since that happened, since we reopened again last May, we have been able to experience, thankfully, 8 of 9 of our best ever months.
Good.
And that's on reduced quantity because we aren't getting the stock that we want to get because of all the global issues that everybody's having. But all sorts of different things. But because of the changes we made, because of the things we did while we were closed down to improve our business for the long term, and making some system changes, I have a whole 4P framework, but basically one of the P's is process, and creating the right processes to allow us to get through some of that stuff, and then enjoy the benefits of what that did for us during that time afterwards has allowed us to actually increase in volume and do even better, more profitability, more gross, more top line, more bottom line for the last 8 months, and now we're kind of back into a little bit of a hiccup again. We'll see how that goes, but every time we go through one of these hiccups, it's not as bad as the other one, and that's the big thing. Take away your learnings along the way and make it even better for the next time, so that you're insulating yourself in case something like this happens.
I mean, I used to speak to make my living, and I spoke exclusively in the US.
Yeah.
And I had my best year in 2019. And then of course they closed the borders.
Yep.
And then I had to learn, Pete, how to port all my funnels to get clients online. And so that's and so luckily, like, it's all coming back. Like, it was a banner year last year. I grew 75% over the year before. Awesome. And bought my dream car last month. It's just up and up and up. So, and then we're back down to, gym's closed, kids are at home again. I know, it's great, but I'm staying positive. We're here. So tell us about how you market to get new clients for your coaching business.
For the coaching side of things, well, I mean, I'm a Business Made Simple certified coach. So with that, all of that, there's sort of a funnel and stuff that comes in behind that with being a Business Made Simple certified coach with Donald Miller and Story Brand and all that kind of stuff. So there's a certain amount that comes in behind that, that, is helpful, and all kinds of systems and frameworks and stuff that I use as part of my overall business that I have there. The podcast is another way. I mean, I have the Simplifying Entrepreneurship podcast, and that's a way, to put it in StoryBrand language around the idea of creating authority, right? So having these conversations, getting out there in other people's networks and creating my own network of people, so that I'm driving people into my realm, either with LinkedIn or, all the different ways, back to the website, through business assessments, all your different sort of call to action facilities. I can use my own podcast to enable some of that sort of stuff. So that's helpful. That's been a new one for me in the last 6 months. But, like you, trying to get on stages is a hard thing these days. It's, awesome. I was supposed to be down in Phoenix earlier, and got, basically I had mixed vaccinations at the time, and the states wasn't sure whether they were going to let us through with mixed
I have them too.
Right. So, but at one time I had a mixed vax, and there wasn't clarity around could I actually go or not. So I had to tell the promoter, listen, I can't come because I don't know if I'm going to get across the border, and I don't want to leave you shy and all this kind of stuff. So all those things we've had to navigate around, and, podcasting is a great way to do that. I'm active on LinkedIn. I mean, the social channels, the different things like that. I'm active in community groups and community spaces. I'm active in a few associations that I do some work with, and, writing and doing different things around that area are areas that hopefully will be bringing back people. And I think during these times where it's hard to have those face-to-face, it's hard to be on stage or any of that sort of stuff, making sure that you're still in the scope, in the periphery, is an important thing. And I think either for people who are audio that like podcast, or video that like YouTube, or like to read, then keeping the articles going and those kind of things, those things aren't dead. Yeah. Some people say they are. Yeah. I believe they aren't. And everybody lives and learns in a different way. So you can't just be one. You can't just have a podcast. You can't just have a blog. You can't, you've got to be there. So when they're ready, they raise their hand, I'm ready now. you're in that circle of influence, and whatever circle of influence that is, you've just got to continue with that, so that when they are ready to raise their hand, they think, that's the person that I need to talk to. And yeah, I understand them already. And a lot of, when we talk about the sales side of things, the marketing's bringing them in, the sales side of things, that next step, a lot of the selling's already been done through this stuff. They already know, they hear you, they've heard your takes on things, they've read your stuff, they've seen you out there. And it's like a lot of this, and they've made their decision 85% of the way before you're actually having a sales call. So from that perspective, the marketing from that, all that sort of stuff, does its job and helps us through the sales process, right? Because we're all salespeople. I mean, let's face it.
You've got to sell yourself.
You do.
For sure. So that sounds amazing. Now tell us about the naked marketing mistake. Like, and I'm sure you've made more than one, but what was the most expensive one?
I think for me, some of the most expensive ones have revolved around, well, I haven't made too many expensive ones on the coaching side.
Okay.
But on if I take it back to Shootopia, we have used to spend a significant amount of money on branding as opposed to on specific sort of things. And, this is, say, 8-10 years ago, we were spending a lot of money on radio ads and no tracking, no, I mean, we kind of cringe our face now, but back then that was sort of the way, right? And I look back now, compared to the things that we're doing now, in order to help grow those things, you can track things, you can work things through. I believe in branding. I think there's a certain amount of branding that needs to be done, but you need to pinpoint some of these things. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars that I had no tracking. So I think some of the big sort of things like that, the things that are untrackable, I think there's a certain amount that should be in your budget for branding and some of that stuff that's not trackable that you're putting out there. And some of that might be community advertising, whatever community, whether it's a local community or an association community or any of these sort of things that aren't really trackable, but keep you in the know and in the loop and all that sort of stuff. But we were spending an exorbitant amount on that as opposed to the stuff that's trackable. And, when I look back at that, it was tens of thousands of dollars. And we've learned and we've changed. And some of those things, I'm thrilled for the ability to do what we can do now with some of the tracking and some of all the great things that even does it automatically for us, right? It does it automatically. I love it.
Love it. Yeah. Awesome. So what is your parting marketing advice to everyone?
Well, I mean, you could take that one as one, but parting marketing advice, I love the framework around, it's a simple framework, and it's problem, solution, and life afterwards. And from that side of things, understanding what the problem is of your customer, like truly understanding what their problem is. And then what is your solution? And after you've presented your solution, what does their life look afterwards? And if you can lay any of your marketing in that, like whether it's a video, an email, anything you're putting out there, what's the problem? Hit them in the face with it. What's your solution to that problem? And how will their life look like afterwards? If you do it in that framework, marketing becomes simple. And it becomes easy to think about. It becomes easy to talk about. It becomes easy to market and to put dollars behind. But you really need to know the true problem. You really need to dig down into your customer and really understand what the thing is that's frustrating them, what's causing the problems, what do they truly want, so that here's the problem, here's what they want, and you are positioning yourself in the middle as the solution.
I love that. I mean, as a marketing strategist, and I worked for Pepsi, Pizza Hut, Frito-Lay for 18 years, and that was my job to buy advertising. So I'm against advertising for people like us. Yeah. But the thing to add that I love your recommendation it's all pain-based. 70% of humans purchase based on pain. The only thing I would add is you need to get really, really, really dialed in on one aspect of the pain, because the pain is big. And when you talk about it in big generic terms and general terms, you become blend in with everybody else who's talking about the same pain, because people have finally woken up. Most people have finally woken up to the fact that they have to talk about pain. But what they're not doing, from what I've seen in the market, is that they're not niching into one facet of the pain. And that's what, like, I'm a niching fanatic. Like, I have a program called Nail Your Niche. So all of your advice is super, super, super important. And also to add that to that, the next layer of niche down into one aspect of the pain, and own the solution to that pain. And then you become a thought leader with your content and, you know, these things. So I love it. I love that you said that. Now, how do people reach you, Pete?
Well, pretty easy. If you want to reach me, you know, personally, just Pete Mohr, Petmohr is my name on LinkedIn or any of the social channels, or you can reach me on my website at Simplifying Entrepreneurship, or just type in Simplifying Entrepreneurship in Google. You'll get everything you need to know about how to reach me.
Thank you so much for being a guest.
Been a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Take care.